Hey everybody, so this is different, got a lot going on, and I just remembered I'm going to be away. So we tried to get this done earlier, then it took some people to be out here. So here we are, and we'll make this work. So we don't want to have to wait till next week. And we've been coming to you every 2 weeks consistently for a year and a half. So we want to stay disciplined, and today is pretty short. But I also felt compelled to do this today instead of waiting until next week because I got a phone call from a very good friend that's getting ready to have a procedure, and I'm just at wit's end about what else can we do, what else do we need to do as far as healing is concerned, and praying and our part. You know, we know and we believe. I have on your thing, believe, believe, believe. Do you believe in the power of Jesus? But do we also just take those candy things? He's not our dream of genie in a bottle, but he asks us to do some things, and we're to be doing some things. And this is his temple. We constantly talk about this being the temple of God, and the mind, the body, and the spirit. This is a part of why we started doing this. Yes, to teach you the gospel. Yes, to get you to believe in Jesus Christ and become a follower of Jesus Christ. More importantly, to move into discipleship. I heard Charles Stanley say just this morning, discipleship is a lifestyle. It's not just something that we defined. It's our lifestyle. And the Gospel of Mark teaches us how to be disciples. It's short, it talks about that active part. And so I just felt heavy, sort of, with this phone call because one of my clients I've been seeing for a minute, haven't seen him in a minute. But the diagnosis that I did through bioelectronic testing talks about some of the same conditions. And we just kind of wait until the wheels fall off, and then we're forced to have surgical procedures. We're forced to be put on a whole lot of pharmaceutical therapy, and it just doesn't get any better. So typically we have me in the kitchen doing that health food piece, which is so important that we start to change the lifestyle. Not that you become vegan, not that you become vegetarian, not that you become raw foodist, but that we just start doing things differently. And the individual said to me, because I said, so what are you doing in the interim? Because, you know, surgical procedures are highly traumatic on the body. And if we are going to do that, we have to do that. We find ourselves between a rock and a hard place. Even then, you want to go into that procedure as healthy as humanly possible. So gird yourself up and begin to do the things that you need to do to recuperate as quickly and as effectively as possible after the procedures. And so that lifestyle change even begins now before then, but a lot of times we feel like it's going to be this magical wand and we can go and do it, and it's almost going to handicap us to continue in some of the very same habits that put us in the condition that we have to go into these procedures. And so it's strange that we're talking about all of this because we're talking about healing the physical body right now in the middle of the 5th chapter of Mark. And so 2 weeks ago, we were coming off the beautiful story of the ruler in the synagogue believing and trusting so much in Jesus based on what he was experiencing as the ruler of the synagogue. He was one of the people that kind of forced Jesus out of the synagogue. This is why he's teaching from a boat now, because he's been put out of the synagogue. And so as a ruler of the synagogue, you're with this group of people that have pretty much ostracized him from being able to speak to the people in the synagogue. But yet, when this ruler's daughter, who's 12 years old, is sick and dying on her deathbed, who comes to Jesus? He comes to Jesus. So you have to go back and review that video from 2 weeks ago because it's really important, some of the details that we discussed. We don't want to completely reiterate that this week because we want to move into these 4 verses. Now a certain woman had a flow of blood for 12 years and had suffered many things from many physicians. She had spent all of her money that she had and was no better, but rather grew worse. When she heard about Jesus, she came behind him in the crowd and touched his garment. For she said, if only I may touch his clothes, I shall be made well. Immediately, the fountain of her blood was dried up, and she felt in her body that she was healed of the affliction. 2 things are going on here. Remember, it says now a certain woman, now a certain woman. Where does she come from? This comes from Jesus getting out of the boat again on the other side of the lake. This is all about the synagogue's daughter, the ruler of the synagogue's daughter, and he comes to Jesus, and Jesus didn't say, hey, you're the man that put me out of the synagogue. You're the person that hadn't believed in what I've been teaching. Jesus simply goes with the man. He's following the man to his daughter's home, to his home, where he can heal the daughter. And as the crowd is following, because this is the same crowd by the time he gets to the other side of the lake on the boat, these folks from the side where the pigs had drowned from the demonic spirit, from the man that had been healed from the demonic spirit, they have already spread the news. And so this crowd is like, whoa, this man is able. I say in the recap there, do you believe that Jesus is able? These people believed that he was able, so they're going to see another miracle. So they're following him. He's thronged with 1 million people following him. Imagine this, to this man's home. He's getting ready to go and heal somebody that everybody is already believing to have gone on by the time they get to her house. And that's next week, where this is something that's interesting. We're going to have to stay focused because we're really on time constraint here today. So this is nestled in between. On the way from the man requesting Jesus to come heal his daughter, on his way to go heal his daughter, we get this story in here. It's just interrupted. Mark squeezes this right in and says, hey, in the crowd of people that are following him to go and see yet another miracle, some woman who had an issue of blood for 12 years, spent all her money trying to get well, says, hey, here comes this man. If I can just touch him, I can't get near him. Imagine you're trying to go to the Beyonce concert, whoever's concert you're trying to go to, and you're thinking you got, pigeon tickets up in you're no way you're even going to get close enough to get a selfie with her in the background or anything, but you're thinking if you can just get a glance of her head, maybe, that's how some people think. But this woman is like, I can't get close enough to him, but if I can just touch the hem of his garment. And all the rabbis at that time, they wore these robes that had 4 tassels, one on each corner, to signify that they were indeed teachers of the gospel. And so Jesus says, who touched me? That's what we're going to hear next week, because of pouring out. But she, after touching him, he didn't tell her she was healed, but after she touched the hem of his garment, it says that she felt the blood dry up and the condition of her affliction leave her body. She knew she was healed. Did that come from healing? Did that come from the confidence and the assurance that she had already set in her mind, if I just touch the hem of his garment, if I just get on my knees and pray to God that he will change my condition? When people go into prayer like that, things happen. If I just get on my knees and pray to God that I know I shouldn't have this type of lifestyle, I shouldn't be focused on these type of foods, and if I know that if I cut those foods out, my condition will be better, it will change, or I won't move into the condition that I'm threatened to have, heart attack, stroke, diabetes, heart disease, cholesterol. If I do that, then things will change. And if I'm unable to do that thing that I know is going to be the better thing for me, then I must be honest with myself and recognize that I am in bondage to this thing. Whenever we allow something, whatever it be, drugs, sex, alcohol, food, laziness, slothfulness, whatever, to keep our condition in a state that is threatening to our well-being, then that thing has control over you. And that thing is ruled by Satan. And so until we ask God to allow us to have the strength, the courage, or with his power to release us out of that bondage, that is where we remain. And though we have a surgical procedure, we have substance abuse session or therapy, it doesn't matter. We'll resort right back to that until we have been freed from it. And that's the danger sometimes of surgical procedures, medications, because they do just that. They just handicap us, temporarily put a bandage on something. And so this is good. This is perfect timing. It's short. It's simple. It's to the point. And it's important to recognize that where it's inserted into this passage, it is inserted after a man was healed from something that he believed in his mind to be 10,000 legions living in him. So much to the point that after Jesus healed him, he says, I want to go with you. And Jesus says, no, go back to your home and tell everybody what has happened to you. And this home we've established was a place that was a Gentile territory. So this is Jesus beginning to start his gospel to the non-Jew. And who does that include? It includes going to the other side, now circling back around to the Jews who got it but hadn't gotten it. Had gotten the message, but they still hadn't gotten it. The ruler. And what perfect example for somebody to obviously turn about face to his group that he had believed in and was going against, that actually got Jesus out of the synagogues, to start believing and going against his pride, his prejudice, and everything else, to say, hey, I need my daughter healed. I believe that he can do that. And then we stumble upon this woman who also had heard. It says she had heard about him. She had heard about him, but she had been sick for 12 years. Sometimes it takes us forever to come back to what we already know. But at some point, come back to it. It doesn't matter if it's 12 years or 15 years. At some point, grab your sense of bearing and say, you know what? This is what I need. And go for it. Jesus is what we need. And we must go for him. We must go to him in a confidence and an assurance that everything that we've heard and we've been taught about him is indeed the truth. And move in that spirit. And this is what this woman did. And it's as simple as that. And it says that she was immediately healed of her condition. And so the next time that we meet, we're going to talk about what that condition, the healing of her condition, did to our Savior, but also as he goes to heal the daughter who the people around the house had assumed had already died. And so as we move along in life, as we move along in everything we do, we have to have that belief that God is, and he's able, and more importantly, he's willing. He wants us. He says he came that we may have life and have it abundantly. And so when we talk about having abundant life, a lot of times we think about how many material possessions and things that we can have. It really isn't about that. The abundant life is just that. It's the perfect, it's the royal rule. To love the Lord your God as yourself and love your neighbor as yourself. So then, how does that love manifest? What does that look like? That looks like doing as much as we can for others. And we can do that when we feel good about us. We feel good. We get up in the morning and our body is able. You're able to go and do the things for some people that aren't able to do for themselves. So that's it. That's all I wanted to talk about on that. And so, since we're not in a kitchen, most of us spend the majority of our lives and our time at the office, at work, and so they say, well, it's not that easy to do that. So, not for any other reason than today just got a little jammed and not in the kitchen. I figured, well, what could we do, because I'm not in the kitchen, I'm not at home, and I've been stuck out here a little more than I want to be here lately. So when you're in the office, how do you prepare for that? So this morning I came in, I had to come in this morning, I had to leave to go for my flight training, I had to come back, I'm going to be here for a minute. So you do what? You always make sure that you have water. So I always have water because I always have either some essential tangerine or lemon drops in my water and distilled water. I keep bottled water here, but try to keep distilled water. And then this morning I grabbed some watermelon juice. Remember, for the last 2 or 3 times I told you that my blender was on the blink. Well, it is really on the blink. So I actually grabbed a watermelon yesterday from one of the health food stores and remembered this morning that my blender is not working, but I ordered one last week and it's actually supposed to arrive today. It's probably sitting on my doorstep. But I always keep watermelon juice, so I had some frozen bottles. So you can't drink frozen juice, so it's been sitting here in this bag. So I have 4 bottles, and they're just a little icy in there. and I'll be able to drink about 32 ounces before I go to sleep tonight. In the interim, I took half of the watermelon and chopped it up into pieces. I had one bowl of this morning. I'm going to eat this in a second. And I've got my other bottles of juice that have just been sitting here at room temperature, frozen all day, and now they're finally liquefied. And so I say that to say it's preparation. It's just like anything in life, you know, it's not necessarily the discipline, but it's just like, you know, I don't know how many people are disciplined to work, but they get up and go so that they can get that paycheck. So it's just a matter of doing it. It's doing what you know that there's a million fast food restaurants around here, and you probably can't get a salad in most of them. And so then, too, if it's not, then you just, you know, this is my cabinet. I have one at every office, every place I've ever been. I take half of my space and I have it for stuff. So what kind of stuff? We have high energy fried snacks. We have a bag of dates when things, I actually have that, you guys remember when I did the sprouted chickpea burger? And so this thing, it stayed on the dehydrator way too long, so it became like a cracker. It still smells great. And I brought like 6 or 7 here last week, and I will just eat them. I've got some sauerkraut in the refrigerator. I have Turkish figs, dates. I have dried nuts, and that's basically what you do. I actually have some olives. Sometimes I'll eat some olives with my nuts. I have some raw cashews. I have some dried mango. This is just what you have to do to stay well. And I have a warehouse full of popcorn. True popcorn, that is. And so it's just doing these things to just kind of help you be on the right track. Because I know some people think, oh, you have the ideal situations and everything. I have a fruit bowl over there that is empty because I had apples and bananas and oranges, and I've been here, like I said, way too much the last week or so, so they're gone. And I have a refrigerator because I cannot be anywhere, even in my hotel rooms. I have to have a refrigerator. So I'm going away, and I will run to the health food store this evening to get little bags of nuts and seeds and more dried fruit so that I can have that in my suitcase. When I travel, I'm more concerned about what I'm going to be eating than what I'm going to be wearing. So half of my suitcase usually has just that type of food that will hold you. And whether you're gone 2 days or 6 days or 10 days, those are all ideal times to fast. So if you're not doing anything but just fasting on a raw diet of nuts and seeds and fresh fruit, everywhere you go to the hotel, you check in, you go to concierge, take an Uber today to the nearest Whole Foods or some health food store and get you some fresh fruit for your room. And then that way you're not sitting there in a hotel, restaurant, or whatever trying to figure out what you're going to have to eat, because there's absolutely little or nothing on those menus that are going to be sufficient. And then you're minimizing usually the physical activity, because if you're going away, you're probably going to some event or something that you're going to be sitting in rooms for extended period of times and eating a little more than you normally eat and then not doing much. And while you're waiting at the airport for an hour and a half, just walk around until the plane leaves. So just doing little things that add up in the long run. These are just things that we have to do. And the less you have to think about them and the more organic they are to your life and your lifestyle, the better off you will be. I hope that this has been helpful. It's been quick, but it's just some little tidbits of information that you need to help you along. But we've got to just, I don't know what the answer is. I had another conversation with someone after I had that conversation with this individual about where do we go? What else can we do? What else can we say? But at some point we've got to start, someone said that they're cutting out some things. Sometimes you don't have the affordability to be cutting out things. You just got to cut them out. And that's where the belief comes from, that you believe that if you get on your knees and you pray to God, that He will give you the strength to terminate that bad activity in your life immediately. And He can do that. And that's not saying anything is easy. I mean, what in life that we have has been easy? Nothing. So it does require a little grit. It does require patience and a little maybe suffering, but it's worth it. The inside, the best side, is so much worth it. Because when you become incapacitated, not only do you put a burden on yourself, put on your loved ones and the people around you. So I hope that's been helpful. We will be back on track in the kitchen in 2 weeks. Let me know if I can help you with anything else.